Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. How are we?
We're cold, Michael. And
All right.
for me, that's an abnormal thing. So,
It's a good empathy moment for you to
I,
note how the
yeah,
rest of us feel every other time we're with you.
yes, right. Um, yes, Michael. When Michael travels with me and we stay in the Airbnb, I keep the house at like 68, and he wears parkas, and that's in July.
Yeah, and it's not 68, it's like 62, just if we're being honest.
Okay, maybe sometimes yes. Well, it is like our last Experience Friday Live for 2023 with the guests. I think you and I
Mm.
may do one right before Christmas, but what a year it has been for us. And couple announcements, big ones. Don't forget, we have a resource page at Mofi. You can go to mofi.co to get that. But more importantly, we haven't talked a ton about it. In February 20th to the 23rd, Experience the Ultimate Immersion Unconference. We are hosting a small boutique conference for 60 of our closest friends. You can send a quick note to people if you want to, and to us to request an invite at experiencevegas2023.com. And listen, this event isn't for everyone. We're really upfront about it, right, Michael? It's not for everyone. If you're looking for a full agenda, this isn't the event for you. If you want to know who all the speakers are, this isn't the event for you. But if you want to be around maverick-minded, human-obsessed human beings, this is the event for you. Go to experiencevegas2023.com, request an invite, and we will get that out to you. We just launched a special holiday code for December to take $500 off the cost of the conference. So reach out to us. And so happens, Michael, our guest is actually going to be there in February with us as well. But Michael, tell everyone why we do and why we are now like almost a year and a half into this, Michael. I think I saw today this is like episode 39 or something. So tell everyone why we keep doing Experience Friday Live.
Yeah, I think today maybe we do a little bit of reverse engineering of, if you notice trends happening, they're happening for reasons because companies don't just do things on whims, right? There's a lot of strategy and a lot of P&L and a lot of chief financial officers who are trying to guide the ship to make sure it's profitable, right? So what we know is that we've got a ton of leaders now in the C-suite area with some kind of experience word in their job titles, right? So if companies are coming around and they are hiring chief customer officers, chief customer experience officers, but chief people officers, chief experience directors, all kinds of stuff, that they're finally catching up, that there's got to be some reason that this is valuable to shift towards creating and humanizing the experiences that are happening. And we're seeing the word human a lot more in people's job titles. So if everybody's catching up to it, it's not just a whim. It's not just a crazy whimsical trend. It's like there's a reason. And that the reason is because you can still make money doing this way, or make more money.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Michael. Like we keep talking about this, but is the chief experience officer or chief customer officer the way of the future? And so hopefully we can get into that. Really excited about our guest today, Keith. Over the last 10 years, Keith has directed human experience for financial service giants like Citibank and American Express, working for both Cushman Wakefield and CBRE, and now with JLL. Keith has expertise in facilities and knows how real estate and workplace experience combine to impact productivity, comfort, and satisfaction for both bank employees and customers. And in his free time, we do this, Michael. Keith enjoys fitness and Spartan races, and he has a passion for hospitality in his personal life as well as on the job. When not at work, he is a social planner for his close family, friends, and 5 godchildren. So let's welcome Keith to the platform today. And hey, Keith.
Hi, everybody. Hey, guys. Thanks for
Good to
having
see
me.
you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We were joking with Keith beforehand. Keith is definitely updressed Michael and I in our hoodies today and my backwards cap, and we've got the suit and tie on, and looking good there, Keith. And
Thank you. I do work for, but bank is my client, and that's just for what the client wants. It's still a little bit old school here.
Well, and can we just say that, like, I think that's fantastic that banks who, do expect a certain kind of dress are still understanding the humanization of the consumer employee experience in there somewhere. Sure. I mean, I think that's fantastic. Plenty of ways to make it.
Yeah. Normally the look is the suit, no tie, but there's a BOMA lunch today, which is Building and Office Management Association. So that's another old school industry thing. So people, you wear it, you dress for the role you want.
Absolutely. I like dressing up. It's a good thing.
Michael still dresses up, not in a suit and tie when we fly, and I'm the one that shows up, Keith, in like sweats and a backwards ball cap. And
yep, I'm with you.
So, all right, Keith, we start every episode the same exact way, and it is: why do you do what you do, and what keeps you motivated as you do it?
I do what I do because it's just hospitality is in my blood. It's in my DNA. It's just something I truly enjoy. I'm passionate about it. There is no doubt that I love what I do, and I will tell anybody and everybody that wants to hear it, even if they don't want to hear it. There are times when I'll be at a lunch like today, and they'll say, what do you do? And I tell them my title, and it's usually, what the blank does that mean? And then I start going into it, and they're like, wow, you really like what you do, don't you? Absolutely. So, yes, I do what I do because it's just passion, and it just shines through in each and every day that I come to work.
Well, and I didn't read this in your bio, but we do have a commonality, Keith. And I don't want to always be the one talking about this, but you also started your career early on at Disney. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that was really the starting ground and where I kind of fell in love with true hospitality. I had finished, I graduated from Hofstra University, and I blasted down to Disney to do my internship, thinking it would just be a basic internship, and it's literally followed and made my career. And it's funny, I was thinking before I came on the show, 20 years ago, this is now. And I remember the person when I was going on the interview to become a cast member saying, Disney's going to stay with you the rest of your career. And I thought, yeah, okay. But she was right. And it really has. And it's resonated, and it stayed with me, and it set the trajectory for where I am today. So yes, that was the launching pad. And, kudos to Mickey.
Kudos to Mickey. I still say that he's going to run for president someday. I don't know. I don't know that Michael's for that, but okay. Well, awesome. So, Keith, you sent us a little bit of a stoke, and it's a quote that we're really familiar with, and I'm going to put it up and let you and Michael start to jam a little bit around this quote as well.
Sure.
And it's by the late, great Maya Angelou. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. So why is that quote important to you? And how does it relate to creating the human experience?
Well, I think it's just that, right? A lot of times in the industry and where we work in and day out, it's about the human connection, and it's about the people, right? And a lot of times when you have a good experience, they're going to remember that. But it's a double-edged sword too. If you have a bad experience, they're going to remember that as well. So I think that it's really impactful that each and every interaction that you have, you really make people feel like not how you want to be treated, but how they want to be treated and how they want to feel. and that's so important. So it's really something that I hold near and dear. The quotes. Obviously, I'm big on quotes and motivational speaking and learning all of, Tim Grover, who was Michael Jordan's coach, wrote a great book called Relentless. And my whole thing is, if Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time, can have a coach, why can't people have coaches, and why can't we learn and constantly develop? He was his personal trainer for 15 years, and he always says, the coach can't want to win the championship more than the players. The players have to want to win the championship, and that's really what making a team and making an experience is all about. It's about that day-to-day interaction and human connection.
Michael,
just hearing you talk, and thank you for that. And then looking at this quote kind of with fresh eyes this morning. Speaking of coaches, my business coach was a sales coach for a while, meaning the person I had as a coach was a salesperson coach. And I learned a ton about that because sales was not in my background from a trained perspective. And I remember what she said. She was a fantastic facilitator, fantastic coach. And what she drilled into us is that all sales are emotional decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I was a bit skeptical of that and didn't really pay a lot of attention to it. I'm like, yeah, it's emotional. And then the more I leaned into it, it's like, every time I part with my money, as even not being an emotional person or, me being more of a thinking person, it's still an emotional decision when you part with your money and you make a choice to go, put that money into something, whether it's something that you need or something that you want. And everyone brings those feelings and those emotions from different places with different baggage and different contexts. And so I just listening to you talk, that's super interesting to look at Maya Angelou's quote from the perspective of, okay, if sales and business really does come down to emotional decisions, how does that layer on top of the hospitality industry, the banking industry, everything else of like, when I'm parting with my money, I'm expecting a feeling. I don't know that I'm expecting a feeling. And I guess if you go to Disney, you're expecting a feeling, right? If you're going to the bank, maybe you're not expecting a feeling. So how do you kind of wrap your head around all that with your
and I think the game has changed, right? Banking is not what it used to be. Shawn and I were actually talking yesterday about Capital One putting cafes in their retail branches, right, and having that experience. And then from a facilities management perspective, what we do is we run the buildings, and it used to be running the building meant the lights are on, the air is on, everything is working, and that's it. And that was enough. But now that's not enough, and good enough is not enough anymore. And we really have to up the level of the game and bring that experience as a provider to our client. So that means, instead of an engineer going like a typical 1980s engineer with like 19,000 keys jingling, half their lunch on their shirt, half untucked. Now that you go, put them in a new uniform, they're buttoned up, clean, crisp. And instead of going and like saying, oh, you're too hot, you go, hi, my name is, Michael, I'm the engineer here. Is now a good time to check the temperature? And it's these little tweaks and these little nuances that make all the difference in the experience world and how we provide service to our clients. So
let's talk about that change though, because we talk about the new normal or the current trends. We don't talk about how to get there a ton. What is the secret sauce for getting that person who has spent a career with a large key ring and a dirty shirt to shift them into the new world of tweaking, even though the tweaks don't seem big to me, maybe you, but the tweaks could be huge for someone who is used to a different world.
Sure. And I think you change the culture one person at a time. And the way you do that is you up your own level of, what you bring to the table. And you put it out there. I started when I was transforming the Cushman Wakefield Citibank headquarters, we put a bunch of trainings together, and we just listened to the people too. It wasn't always just, here's hospitality and shove it down their throats. We said, what do you guys need? What do you want? And you partner, and you really get the buy-in. And you're always, no matter what industry, no matter what, you're going to have naysayers. There's going to be people that are going to resist you. You're going to have pushback, but then you're going to have those that are like, you know what, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to try, and I'm going to put my best foot forward. So you give them the tools to succeed. You put the trainings in place. You see who really starts to grow and get into that kind of new ecosystem of this is a service-minded mentality. And then it grows organically from there. It's almost like, if you guys remember that ice bucket challenge, right? Where like you would get tagged, and then you're like, yes, I got tagged, I want to do. You do that with hospitality. Like, you guys go out there and deliver great service, and then make somebody else challenge somebody else, and then they challenge somebody. And next thing you know, not overnight, but slowly but surely, this ship turns around, and you got yourself a great culture and a great system.
And that gets into the why too, right? And not to like overdo the why thing, but like if you've got someone who's done it this way for a gazillion years, but you say, you know what if we did it this way? Wouldn't you want your kids and your grandkids to experience this instead of this? Don't you want that? Like, how can you help us bring that together?
And it's a little bit of just also taking them through the steps and letting them know that they're not alone, and it's not a scary thing, or it's not a bad thing, right? And to have follow-up. So I'll give you another example of one of my clients. So we were going from the old typical 1980s cubicles, corner offices, to now completely open, unassigned, oversubscribed, no offices.
Yep.
And I had a managing director who looked at my card and went, Director of Workplace Experience, and he threw my card, and he's like, my experience absolutely sucks. And I live in a $3 million house. You're going to put me in a 100 square foot desk that's not assigned to me? And me being the human experience guy, I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. You live in a $3 million house, but yes, your ass is going into a 100 square foot desk. But then every day after that, I was there. Hey, John, how are you? How's it going? Took him through the process. Within 6 months of coming out of that corner office and being in the open environment, he was like, this is the best thing ever. I never want to go back. So like, that's what you have to let them, I equated to the goldfish in a tank situation, right? You have to just put the fish in and let it sit and then throw it in. You can't just throw it in. But then once you stay with them and you follow them and you're there, turning somebody around, to me, is the greatest experience you can have, right?
It's a fishbowl that you jumped in with them. You didn't just put them in a fishbowl, right? So you're sitting with them and going through it together, which my guess is involves some co-design as well. But if it's just a top-down decision, right, and this is the way things are going to be, as compared to, all right, how can you help us make this work?
And like everything else, right, it does start at the top. Human experience and leadership starts at the top. If the grudge
no I just love what you're saying, because it really does go back to hospitality. And something that Michael and I say a lot is just meeting people where they're at, right? Like and I know that's why Michael and I are the good yin and yang, because I'm typically the one that would throw the goldfish in and go figure out how to do it. Right. And then Michael's the one that jumps in and goes, okay, we'll help you. Right. And that's what I love about it. So, Michael and I talk a lot, Mofi, we talk a lot, Keith, about the experience ecosystem. Right. And we had that great conversation yesterday with the group of people. And we're starting to see this shift in healthcare, even. One of the organizations that does a lot around patient experience actually just changed the name of their conference to Human Experience 23.
Love it.
So I still don't know anyone but you that actually has the title of Director of Human Experience. Now, I love it. I know Michael loves it because we've said we got to quit calling it consumer experience or member experience or employee experience, but it's human experience. Tell us how that role and what your role. I mean, you've started to tell us what your role is in that, but how do people look at that different than if you were just to say, "I'm here to talk about employee experience"?
Right. Yeah, and I think, you know, the hospitality and what I've been doing since I joined corporate real estate over 10 years ago, even that's evolved, right? So it's gone from your typical events and hospitality concierge to workplace experience to now human experience, because the world changed 2 years ago, right? Let's be honest. And it really affected people, and it changed how we have to think about what the people feel and look. And now you have what at the time was really growing momentum, now a spotlight on the human experience. The chief CAO of JP Morgan Chase said the other day in the town hall that one of his top 3 objectives for 2023 is human experience. So that really resonates now. And it's he said it's a lot technology, it's human experience, and it's respecting the legacy, right? Knowing that we've done things so well for so long, but we've got to move forward and pivot in this new world. So the human experience involves taking care of each and every individual. And now that's a different front, because now it's not jam people in the office, put as many people in. Now you have hybrid workers, you have people that are never going to come into the office, you have people that are still coming into the office that are dealing with the commute every day. And it's about finding that balance of how do we take care of each and every individual without creating silos of the employees, you know? So,
Yeah, and I think it's fascinating to finally be saying, okay, the pandemic is in the rearview mirror enough that it's incorporated into our day-to-day life. We can all recover a little bit. I'm sure there's still trauma that we all need to work through, and collectively, right? And let's start now paying attention to what this new story is. Like, how did this change us for ways that are better? So 50 years from now, when our kids, grandkids, whatever, study this pandemic in their history class, what's the story? Is the story that we collapsed and fought and made bad decisions? Or is the story we got a wake-up call where we are now different people and we needed to be reminded about humanity after the whole tech boom of the early 2000s?
Exactly. You nailed it. That's nail on the head. Right.
I mean, one of my favorite stories is friends who, they did the survey of how folks want to go back to work after the pandemic, right? And the overwhelming survey response was, well, I want to work at home, and I also want an office that I come into when I want to, and I store my shit so that I don't have to go home, right? Take it home. So I want everything. I want to be able to have everything on my terms. And that's such a big indicator of, right, okay, what's happening there? Like, what are people really asking for? And how do we dig into that? And of course, we don't have time to do that today, but that would be another fascinating conversation of, like, what's the story there of, like, I want this and I want this and I want this and I want it on my terms. And how long will labor have the power until it goes back to corporate whatever?
And it's about finding that balance, right? And a lot of times experience, though, sometimes is being able to having to say no, but with a smile. And how do you deliver that message, right? And that's so important too, because you can't give them everything, but we got to find that delicate balance and be able to make sure that it works for everybody. So,
love it. I love how you said that. How do you say no with a smile? It goes back to our Disney days, right? Like the guest is you make the guests feel like they're always right.
Correct. Yes.
Even if they're not right. And how do you manage through that, right?
Yep.
That's definitely something to remember. Well, Keith, before I think this is fascinating around the whole workplace. But before we end the show today, what's your one piece of advice as we're even having this discussion to people that are trying to figure this out right now? What's one piece of advice for the first step that you say you need to do this?
I would say from what I know, nobody's figured this out. So you have the ability to be creative. You have the ability to think outside the box and come up with something that's radical. And like, Shawn, you talk about it all the time, challenge the status quo, be creative, be a maverick, come up with something. I used to tell my team, bring ideas. There's no idea that's too crazy, and we could try it. And if it fails, at least we tried, right? So get creative with the way the world works and think of things outside the box. I have this crazy idea. I don't want to give away all my secrets, but how do you incorporate a true hotel into a workplace? Like, how do you have a hotel workplace balance? Like, that could be so cool, especially coming out of the pandemic, right? So get creative. Don't ever give up, and just keep pushing forward. It's a full 12 rounds. You don't give up. You go the full 12 rounds. That's my one piece of advice.
Love it. So, well, Keith, thanks so much for being here with us. If you will hang out for a little bit, Michael and I are going to wrap up the show, and then we'll say bye to you, buddy.
Sounds great, Michael. Shawn, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it, and enjoy your Friday.
Awesome. We'll be right back with you, bud. All right, Michael, any big plans for the weekend?
Not at all.
Not at all. Staying warm.
Stay warm.
Yeah.
Try to get on top of a few things.
Did you guys get your Christmas? Did you get your Christmas trees up?
They are in process.
On process. I did see one. And if you go out and follow Michael, maybe I'll convince him to post some pictures on LinkedIn of these Christmas trees. They're awesome.
They are pretty.
So they're awesome. Well, have a great weekend, sir. And thank you to everyone for supporting us in 2023. We'll do a reflection at the end of the year here. But thank you again. And we're looking forward to having our guests back with us in 2024. Right. Or 2023, not 2022. See, space everything out. Awesome. All right, buddy. We'll talk later.